Hey everybody, how you doing? Eric Miller here. I ran for Congress as a Libertarian in Indiana's 6th District 2 years ago, 2014. Have a little story for you. There was a corporate jet that went down, and a senator and 2 congressmen didn't survive. Poof, they went to heaven. And there's this huge line, 5 miles long, to get up to St. Peter. Well, they're not used to waiting in line for anything, so they just walk up to the front. St. Peter sees them coming. He pushes a button on his desk, and poof, they're right in front of him. He pushes another button. Poof, Satan pops up. A third button, and God comes. God looks down at the congressman and says, "We've passed a law. You got to spend 3 days in heaven and then 3 days in hell." And they're like, no, we just want to go to heaven. God says no, and he pulls out a coin and he flips it. Satan calls it in the air, and of course God wins, and he says, you're going to spend the first 3 days in heaven. It was so beautiful. It was lovely. There was no fighting, no nothing. It was just praising God all the time. But congressmen were used to that. In fact, they're used to people praising them, and they felt very uncomfortable. But very quickly, the 3 days were over. And poof, they're back out in front of St. Peter. St. Peter pushes the button. An elevator appears with Satan in it. And they're scared to death, but they get on the elevator and it goes down, and they look down to hell, and hell is a golf course, condominiums. There's even this huge lake with a cruise liner in the middle of it. Hot tubs, tennis courts, everything you can imagine. It's better than Washington, D.C. And they were like, this is nothing like we imagined. And Satan says, yeah. He says, this is the best place in the world. So they had the time of their lives for 3 days, just like being in D.C., only better. Third day, they're in a hot tub with 3 gorgeous women. And the buzzer goes off, and poof, they're back up in front of St. Peter's. And St. Peter pushes the button, and God appears and Satan appears. And God says, gentlemen, you spent time in heaven and you spent time in hell. Now you have to vote on where you're going to spend eternity. Well, they look at each other and they all smile and say, well, God, we really appreciate heaven and you know how beautiful it is, and everybody's praising you, but we just don't feel comfortable there. We're going to spend our eternity in hell. And God's like, what are you, out of your mind? Nope, we feel at home there. God says, last chance. And they said, nah, sorry, we've made our decision. And they start to step back on the elevator, and all of a sudden, poof, the elevator's gone, and they're falling face first down 1,000 miles right into the bowels of hell, and the golf course have disappeared. All the beautiful things have disappeared. Instead of beautiful women all around, there's nothing but demons poking people with their tridents. And they land, instead of in the hot tub, right into a boiling pile of horse crap. They look up at Satan and say, well, what happened? And Satan laughed at him and said, gentlemen, that was the campaign season. You voted, now you have to live with it. So there's a moral to that story.